nothing good, nothing at all good can ever come from deliberately trying to make your husband feel disrespected and belittled. Today for our daily cancellation, we have another entry in the rapidly expanding genre of videos where wives complain about their husbands. And this genre is extremely popular. Of course, it's come up several times on this show. And yet, the reverse genre, husbands complaining about their wives, basically does not exist. I mean, if a husband complains about his wife publicly, it will almost always be in a funny, lighthearted way where he makes himself the butt of the joke ultimately. But the all-female genre of spousal sessions is never meant to be funny, and the women certainly don't make themselves the butt of the joke. These videos are, in almost every case, bitter, petty, patronizing, and deeply insulting to the husbands. And this latest entry is no different. So here's a woman, Jenny Maharaj is her name, who decided to tearfully scold her husband in front of the world, in front of what turned out to actually be an incredibly large audience. This video has been viewed 2 million times on TikTok and another 30 million times on X. And as always, the comments are mostly full of women cheering her on and dogpiling her husband. There's wide agreement in the feminist peanut gallery that Jenny's husband is a bad person, a bad husband, a bad man, and she has no recourse but to divorce him. And this is exactly the kind of feedback that Jenny was looking for, obviously. There's no other reason to parade your spouse's shortcomings in front of the world. So here's Jenny's tragic tale of her husband being slightly dismissive once during dinner. Listen.
My husband decided to be spontaneous and take me to the movies last night. And when we went to dinner afterwards, I was talking about how much I really loved the movie. It was so good. I was so excited to talk about it. And he looks at me dead in my face and says, "It was just a movie." And I immediately stopped talking. So the more I sat there and thought about it, I start crying. It gets really uncomfortable. And he tries to break the silence by continuing to talk. And I finally looked at him and I said, "That really hurt my feelings." And he responded, "It was just a movie." I said, "I was really excited to talk about it. You took me to see this movie on a whim. I've never heard of it, didn't look it up beforehand, and I really loved it. You picked a great movie." And I was so excited. And now I don't want to talk at all. Because why would I want to talk after that? And he immediately stops. He's like, "You're right, I'm sorry." And then he grabs my hands. He's like, "I'm not even being sarcastic. You're right, I'm sorry. I love when you get excited. It's just annoying sometimes." I recognize that he is trying and he is learning how to communicate with me. It's not an overnight process, but it is very painful. He's still new to his healing journey, so I just have to keep remembering that.
Of all the red flags that have ever been flown, there is perhaps none more ominous or more glaring than a woman who uses the phrase healing journey. And this is exactly the kind of therapeutic jargon that you so often hear from the worst kinds of people. It's always the worst, most selfish, most oblivious, least self-aware people who speak in a way that make it obvious that they've spent many years in talk therapy, which should tell you all you need to know about talk therapy, but that's a topic for another time. For now, you should know that as this video went super viral and thousands upon thousands of women applauded her and offered absolutely vicious indictments of her husband, Jenny kept posting videos about it. Because once a woman like this realizes that she can get attention and validation on the internet by publicly spitting in her husband's face, she won't stop. It's a drug. And so in a follow-up video, Jenny informs us that her husband is self-loathing and not as emotionally mature as she is. And if she has to divorce him, she will, because she can make it without him. Watch.
You are correct. There is hatred here, but it's not for me. It's for himself. He hates my joy and excitement because he has nothing to feel joyful or excited about. And that's exactly what I said to him after he said it was sometimes annoying. The comments were not surprising. I actually almost didn't read them because I knew exactly how they were going to go. I started my healing journey in August of 2022. In the first year of my healing journey, I crashed out at least 2 to 3 times a month. And he was there to take the beating every single time. When you start healing and reconnecting with your higher self, your brain thinks it's in danger and it starts to project and deflect to whoever is closest to you. In my case, it was usually my husband, and now in his case, it is me. If I didn't feel like he was trying, I would not be here. I am secure in myself enough to know that I can make it on my own if I have to.
I know I said it's a topic for another time, but this, I cannot stress enough what a disaster therapy and the whole therapeutic industry. And I don't know if this woman has been to therapy. I assume she probably has. If she hasn't physically been, then I guarantee she's read all kinds of self-help books and watched videos and that sort of thing. It's all part of the same scam. And it's just been a disaster. The therapeutic industry has been a disaster for the human race and for women in particular. Because let me tell you something, the appropriate response, if you know someone personally who has this complaint about, I wanted to talk about a movie, he didn't want to talk about it. It's like, okay, get over it. Yeah, he was a little rude, a little dismissive. So tell him that and move on with your dinner. You should be over it by the time the appetizers get there. Okay, it's not a crisis. We don't have to sit around dissecting it. We really don't. It's not about, let's look at the deeper significance of this. No, it's just a moment. He's annoyed by something, maybe. Maybe he's annoyed because they didn't have the food he wanted on the entree. Whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Get over it is the answer, lady. Get over yourself and get over it and move on. Stop being a child. You're being a child is what you're being. Crying because you didn't want to talk about a movie. What the hell is wrong with you, you child? So that is actually the appropriate response. It's the healthiest response. It's what people like this need to hear. They will never hear it from a therapist. They will never hear it from a therapist. Instead, they'll say, let's sit and talk. Let's do 10 sessions about this. Anyway, another detail that you should know about this truly awful woman is that she has apparently 4 children. And 2 of them are teenagers or young adults, which means that her children are fully aware that her mother is disparaging their father on the internet. They can read, and certainly have read, all of the comments describing in detail why their father is an egotistical monster unworthy of love. And all of these comments are foreseeable. Indeed, Jenny says that she knew it would go that way. And yet she posted the video anyway. And this is why I must desperately urge the women of America, and I know you don't, I know not all women do this, but if you're one of these women, I am urging you to stop complaining about your husbands on social media or in any other public forum. It is not just inappropriate. It is not just a case of oversharing, though it is both of those things. More than that, it is actually despicable. You are a despicable person if you take the flaws and faults of someone close to you and parade them around in public. You are a disgusting, narcissistic bully if you would offer up someone you love to the pitchfork mob as a way to win an argument. It is evil. It is vile. There are not words strong enough to convey how much I loathe this kind of thing. I mean, think about it this way. It would be, and we would all agree with this actually, it would be utterly contemptible to treat a friend or acquaintance this way. You would be a heinous jerk if you publicly castigated a friend who you only text twice a year. I would think, and everyone would think, that you were an abhorrent, despicable, disloyal snake if you aired your dirty laundry about a friendly acquaintance or a distant cousin who you only see at weddings and funerals. But like, to do this to your spouse, the person you've pledged your undying loyalty to, the person you know and should love more deeply and intimately than anybody else on earth, that's downright monstrous. And yet, the attitude a lot of people have is that doing it to your spouse is the only appropriate time. Yes, everyone would agree that doing that to a friend, a cousin, is like, why would you ever do that? You're a terrible person. And yet, a lot of those same people think that it's totally fine to do that to your spouse. You have it exactly backwards. Well, really, you shouldn't be doing it to anybody, but to do it to your spouse is the worst of all those, hypotheticals. And needless to say, you are automatically the bad guy the moment you take your squabble to social media. That's why we're not going to dissect or discuss at all the actual story that Jenny shared. That doesn't matter. Again, the only answer to that is get the hell over it, you child. Stop whining and crying about it. Debt doesn't just show up one day. It builds little by little: credit cards, car loans, medical bills, and suddenly you're juggling payments, feeling stuck. But here's the good news. You're not stuck. You just need a reset. American Financing, they help homeowners just like you every day. They use your home's equity and roll that high interest debt into one simple, affordable payment. They're saving homeowners an average of $800 a month. No judgment, no pressure, just real solutions that put you back in control. Imagine breathing again, sleeping again, knowing your future is yours to shape. Starts with one call. It only takes 10 minutes to get started. There are no upfront fees, so it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you start today, you may be able to delay your next 2 mortgage payments. American Financing salary-based consultants are ready to listen and ready to help. Take back your peace of mind with American Financing. Call American Financing today, 866-569-4711. That's 866-569-4711, or visit americanfinancing.net/Walsh. But what you have done, Jenny, is orders of magnitude more despicable than what your husband did to provoke your behavior. In this case, he made a thoughtless, slightly dismissive remark. You, on the other hand, made the calculated, premeditated decision to disrespect and belittle him in front of the entire world. You are the bad guy here. There is no contest. You have also unintentionally provided some mitigating context to the dismissive remark from your husband. Because now we know what kind of wife you are. Now we know how you treat your husband. If you will disrespect him like this in public, we can only imagine how vicious and horrible you are to him in private. In fact, you admitted that too. You said you crashed out multiple times a month, but it was okay because you were on your healing journey, whatever the hell that means. So you're admitting that you're awful to him in private also, which we know because you're awful to him in public. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why he was a bit short-tempered at dinner. Maybe you've worn him down through years of behaving like a raging narcissist. Maybe your lack of respect for him as a man has made him care a little less about respecting your opinion about movies or about anything else. How many times have you done this kind of thing? I mean, we can assume that this TikTok video is not the first time that you've advertised your husband's shortcomings to an audience. If you would do this on social media, we can assume that you've already complained about him many times over the years, to your family, to your friends and his friends, random dinner guests, neighbors, acquaintances, and so on. There is a certain kind of wife who does this as a matter of habit. She cuts her husband down everywhere to anyone who will listen constantly. All of the evidence suggests that you are just that kind of wife. So here's what women like Jenny need to understand. Your husband needs respect. I'm not saying that he wants it or that he would prefer it. I didn't say that it would be nice if he had it. I said he needs it. A man needs respect. He needs his honor as a man. Men who feel like they have lost the respect of their loved ones and their peers and the outside world will be at a risk of plunging into a deep and catastrophic despair. There are a lot of very strong men out there who can deal with almost anything. Deal with almost any physical hardship, any emotional hardship. But the one thing that could be crippling is a loss of respect. Because a man who feels that he has lost his honor will often lose his will to live. And if you think that's dramatic, I mean, there's a reason why many ancient societies all across the world have featured some form of ritualistic suicide as a remedy for lost honor. There's a reason why the phrase death before dishonor came into being. Honor, respect, reputation, men through all of history have died to obtain these things and died because they lost them. So as the wife, you have a unique ability to either make your husband feel deeply respected or deeply disrespected. If you choose the latter, then you are choosing to throw a grenade into the middle of your marriage. You are choosing to pull your husband down and the marriage along with him. That's the choice you make when you deliberately dishonor and disrespect him, when you intentionally make him the object of scorn and ridicule, when you emasculate and belittle him. Now, I will no doubt hear the response that, well, a husband should only be respected by his wife if he earns it. But as I've said in the past, this is exactly the wrong attitude. A wife should respect her husband because he is her husband, just as he should love and honor his wife because she is his wife. That's the reason. That's how your husband earns your respect, by being your husband. You owe that to your husband. Now, you might say that your husband deserves it when you mock him and berate him and belittle him and nag him and scold him and parade his flaws around in public. But I would say that nobody you love deserves to be treated that way by you. And if you think in those terms, then you obviously don't love them. But at any rate, deserve is not the point. You don't marry someone in order to give them what they deserve. In marriage, you give them what you've promised them. And you promised fidelity. You promised love. You promised respect. Now, this doesn't mean that a man has a license to be thoughtless or uncaring or whatever. He's challenged to live up to his wife's respect. The more a man is respected by his wife, the more respectable he becomes. This was G.K. Chesterton's point when he wrote that the great lesson of the Beauty and the Beast story is that a thing must be loved in order to be lovable. And the same goes for respect. Love in a marriage, it doesn't mean, anything if it's only given in the exact proportion that it's earned in any given moment. And respect also means nothing if it's offered or withheld depending on whether the wife feels that the husband's behavior is deserving of it from one moment to the next. Saying that you're not going to respect your husband because he doesn't deserve it is no different, absolutely no different, from your husband saying that he isn't going to be faithful to you because you don't deserve it. This attitude is a recipe for disaster in a marriage. I mean, the only question is how your husband chooses to respond to this sort of treatment. He might become emotionally frail and enfeebled and submissive and emasculated. That happens in many cases. Which means that you're going to find it even more difficult to respect him, it's a compounding problem. You go around, the cycle continues. He might become angry and bitter and contentious. He might go to work one day and find that his attractive female coworker seems to respect him and take him seriously much more than you do. And nothing good comes of that. Now, he would not be morally justified in having an affair because an affair is never morally justified. But even so, this is the starting point of many affairs. I got news for you. Many affairs begin because the husband does not feel respected in his home. And he goes out and he finds a woman who seems to respect him. And even if that's just a put on, he's drawn to that. There are many ways that your husband might respond to chronic disrespect. And many of those ways may not be morally justifiable, but they are foreseeable. And they're also avoidable. The point is, nothing good, nothing at all good can ever come from deliberately trying to make your husband feel disrespected and belittled. Speaking of journeys, that is a journey with several different possible endings. None of them are good. But apparently Jenny still has not learned that lesson on her healing journey. Because whatever she's healing from, she apparently is not healing from being a manipulative, disrespectful, disloyal brat. And that is why she is today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.